Okay, tell me when.
Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Ruta Jouniari and I'm running for Sarasota County Commissioner. Today's my first inaugural coffee talk. What I'm doing is going around the county and meeting with constituents and hearing their problems one-on-one. And I figure it's really hard for everyone to come out, so this is a great way of hearing your concerns. And while I'm streaming live, please make commentary and we'll answer to those too. So I want to go around and just introduce who's here today. So if you guys can all introduce yourselves, we'll start over here.
Hi, I'm Karen Hudlow, a Sarasota resident.
Michael Hudlow, also a Sarasota resident I'm back here, for 20 years now?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually this is a lot of fun, so looking forward to it.
Yay.
And I'm Denise Quinda. I'm a Sarasota resident. November will be 3 years that I'm residing here from New York City, and I'm loving it. And in the short time I'm here, I've seen massive changes. It's just a whole redevelopment. Lots going on. And I'm catching up on all of it. Very intrigued.
So I'm going to ask you guys, since this is all about you and it's not about me, because my job is to basically represent everyone should I get elected. So I'm going to go around it since there's the three of you. If we don't mind, like, what's your number one concern for the county that you could think of? And whoever wants to go first could just go first.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm from New York, so a lot of people I know is the traffic. I know by the UTC Mall they did a Divergent Diamond and they're doing another one someplace else. I do find it helpful, the traffic as far as Siesta Key, but that's another aspect, the beach with parking. That is a deterrent. I don't want to go there because it just takes forever to park. And I kind of use my New York skills. I just like hone in whoever has a key or you know, or a surfboard or something, and I just sit and wait instead of driving around. And even though they have arrows pointing one direction or do not enter, people are not abiding, and I've seen some kind of horrible fights, and there seem to be police there. Perhaps there should be more, or more parking is needed.
So I just want to address Denise's concern. One of the biggest complaints, Denise isn't alone, and the biggest complaint I'm hearing is infrastructure and traffic issues. And one of the problems is we're building out so quickly in Sarasota County, and we're building out without putting proper roads in enough ways in and out for people to get actually around the whole county. And it's not only in Sarasota County, but it's also all the way to Longboat Key. It's through Northport into Venice, so it's everywhere. So I think one of the things that we have to worry about, and as a commissioner, one of the things that I would propose is that with all this construction east of 75 and everywhere, which is just backlogging traffic, is to sort of hold a little bit and actually start to work on roads first before we actually go any further. And even walkways, because one of the things I'm hearing in Venice and Northport, there's not enough sidewalks being built around developments, and these are all concerns to everyone. So I think we do need proper infrastructure.
And sidewalks that would be appropriate for disabled, handicapped people.
Exactly.
That's a big concern.
It is.
Absolutely.
And even for parking, like one of the proposals for Sarasota County, I don't know if you guys are aware, there is debate right now with the commissioners as to whether or not we should charge people for paying for parking. So I personally, and I don't know, you guys can chime in, I personally don't think residents of Sarasota County should have to pay for parking at any public beach. In fact, we have so many few beaches. We only have, we have Lido, we have, you know, some beaches in Englewood, we have Siesta Key, we have Minnesota Key. We don't have a lot of beach access. So we're paying our taxes, and I think we've been here long enough that we've paid into that. So I personally, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that residents should pay for parking. I'm not opposed to, one of the proposals was if somebody's out of town and visiting, residents will have like a sticker on their car so that they don't pay, and non-residents, if they come to visit, may pay a nominal fee. And I'm actually not that opposed with that. I think most tourists, if they're coming, they'll expect to pay like $5 for parking, and if that makes a solution to build a garage off-site, I think it's not a bad idea. What do you guys think about parking?
Well, I agree. I like this this concept. This is true. Towards our taxes, I mean, we have already contributed, and maybe with tourism, we could help
Yeah, but
build the infrastructure.
But that said, I'm going to play the other side of that.
Go ahead, please.
You know, originally I'm up from the Philadelphia area. I'm used to going to New Jersey beaches. Whereas this concept called beach tags, you know, or you pay. Now, I don't like that a concept. That said, if I had to pay, or if I got parking free because of taxes, great. But if there was an option to pay for like some kind of priority thing, meaning so I don't have to go drive around the parking lot 12 times, you know, I mean, I could see a payment, a possibility. You know, I could.
As a premium?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it as a possibility.
As a tourist or as
no, as a resident. I mean, I'm saying yes, you're right. You should be able to park for free. You're already paying for this for long enough. That you were mentioning earlier. You don't even want to go to these places because they're so crowded. You know.
Right. I mean, I have a different tolerance. I said it again. I don't mean to. Like, I'm from Manhattan and then the Hamptons, so we have our seasonal things.
No, that's
too.
true.
So I'm very patient. I was paying $400 a month as a resident,
right,
for my beach. Okay. So even when my son lived in Marco Island and Naples, he had to get a sticker that I think was 50. I don't know if they honored, over 55. I know Naples and all that, there's all these meters. I know that they talk about it here. So this is like unbelievable that we're given this. As far as with tourists, I feel like it's kind of nice if they leave here saying something like, wow, we were just at this other beach somewhere and we had to pay. Although it would create jobs though if we had, like a little house where they would have to go and
yeah, no, that all makes sense. Yeah.
And the only thing other concern that I have for residents, we already have so many young people who can't afford to live here.
Right.
So if we add
that's
on
a big
top
problem
of it,
too.
if you add on beach parking, they already can't afford to stay downtown. They can't afford to live here. And then if we add a beach parking, I mean, that's going to be a huge deterrent for younger people too, and it's going to be even less attractive to stay here. If you're making, minimum wage, there's no way that you can afford, $15 to go park at Siesta Key.
Right.
So I think we have to really take a long look at that. So we'll keep moving on with a different topic.
I have another topic.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I work primarily either out of Sarasota, some Tampa, but a lot of it Manhattan. And I'm on the airplane all the time. And I don't know what's happening. It seems like since we lived here for 20 years, we have a fantastic, beautiful airport, but we have no flights. And and if you compare it to going down south, or go to Tampa, or go to Fort Myers or anywhere, they have real, respectable flights that come in and out at normal times. Even JetBlue, a year and a half ago, there was 4 flights a day. Now there's 1. And it's in the middle of the day, which knocks out business travel completely. So now what I do, I travel up to Tampa. I'm driving out of my house at 3 a.m. to get a flight at 6 a.m. And I don't understand why. I just
and it's
don't.
Seasonal also because my daughter lives in Chicago. And, certain times of the year it flies there or doesn't.
But it's just so unpredictable. And also... And I don't know if it's because the airport, I don't know how, I don't know the back end behind how it's run, but coming to Sarasota is instant a few $100s more. Now, when I'm traveling for business, I can absorb it. But personally, it just seems like you can't get here and you make all these, like we have guests come over 80% of the time, they're flying into Tampa. And I just don't get it.
It's something, unfortunately, I think as a county commissioner, it's nothing
No, I
that we
understand,
need to
but-
address.
It's just
So for us, it's something that the airport authority would have to address, and I'm sure they go by how many tickets are sold on each plane.
Every plane's packed, and
Yeah,
that's
it
just
is, and
makes
I agree,
no sense.
I agree,
And,
it is, but I just, like I said, unfortunately with that,
Yeah.
I would love that answer from the airport, actually, myself.
yes, me
Yeah,
too.
I would like to find out.
I was just, there's going to be no sky anymore. They're building such a beautiful skyline in Sarasota downtown here, but there's like a lack of clouds and blue sky. Is this, all these high rises that are super expensive for only the wealthy. So housing is like for the elite, or they'll live here X amount of months, and then here we are year-rounders.
I think that's probably the second biggest complaint outside of traffic is housing in Sarasota County. And Sarasota County it's becoming really unlivable for so many people. And you're right, they're building high rises that start at $1 million. Well, the workforce that works here downtown Sarasota, the wait staff, the cooks, they can't afford to live here. And so for them, they're either having to drive in from Manatee County or even further, and they can't afford it. And then the other thing, like you said, we're actually starting to deter the natural beauty of Sarasota. And I think that's something that's a concern to everyone, is we see the landscape changing of all of Sarasota County. And again, it's from Sarasota proper all the way down to Northport. All of a sudden you see these huge sprawling developments come. They're knocking down trees. They're taking out wetlands. They're just knocking everything away. And it's very dangerous, because the other thing that you'll see is you'll see all these huge developments east of 75, and you don't think it impacts like downtown areas, whether it's here or Venice or Northport. But the problem is when they develop out east and they don't put in the proper infrastructure. I don't know if you notice when it rains, but it is flooding in so many places where it's never flooded before. So these are some things too, like we have to worry about how we set things up east of county to make sure that it flows properly through downtown. And it is an issue. And affordable housing, we have developers who come in, and every time they're building a development, they're allocating supposedly a certain percent to affordable workforce housing. Not Section 8, not low income, but workforce housing. And then as soon as those developments are built out, about like probably 70-80%, they say, oh, well, we can't afford to build the affordable housing units because it's not profitable enough for us. So they wipe it off the table. So then we're left with a lot of housing that's not affordable, and we're creating a problem. And what I find kind of funny is the developers, when you talk to the developers, they say, oh, we can't find qualified skilled workers. Well, you're not giving them a place to live. You're not paying them well enough. So where are they going to go? They go to places where they can make more money and afford to live better. So I think it's almost like a catch-22 where we're actually building away from our own citizens, which is kind of a problem. So
It's very true. I was trying to explain this to some friends. When you hear you're living in Florida, I mean, it's nice if you had something back home wherever you're from, and you sold, you can do a little bit better here. But it's not like the old Florida. I mean, there are places, I'm sure, more maybe middle Florida or things of that nature, but it's expensive. And that's without, even having to pay for a garage if you live, in a place where you can park in your driveway or in your own garage.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because even with our daughter, entering the workforce, it is, we already hear her starting to say, well, maybe we're going to have to live in Venice, or maybe we're going to have to live in Bradenton, or live somewhere, because of what you were talking about, which is such a tragedy, because it's like you grew up here, you went to all the local high schools, and all of a sudden you're trying to make it where their parents, establish their existence, and the first thing they have to do as a young professional is leave.
Well, there are,
and it's tragic. It's tragic.
And I think there's a fire car going. And I think one of the, I'll just wait till it goes by. I think one of the tragedies is also one of the things Sarasota County really has to look at are job creation. One of the things that I always find amazing is we're the Sunshine State, yet we don't have any solar companies in town.
I know. I thought about the same thing. Exactly.
It's amazing.
I don't see any.
You don't see
Communities
any.
with solar, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. And I'm like, wow, why can't we come up with some solar initiatives for the county and actually create some really great jobs as well and do a benefit to the environment? So I think we have to start thinking outside the normal box of where the commissioners are currently and start getting some new and innovative ideas. I just wanted to know, are there any comments coming up at all on Facebook that you can see? We have somebody filming.
Mostly some people watching, a few hearts.
Okay, but
and
no
some-
comments? Okay.
Well,
so-
except that you're Ruta Jouniari discussing county issues live.
Oh,
That's one of
okay.
them.
I have a question / comment, and I agree. Traffic is a huge issue, right? So I was, we lived out close to Honore Avenue, and Honore has got put on so many of these circles now,
Yeah, the roundabouts.
and I personally, I love them.
You're about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
After this
personally,
one, we'll do this
but I'm
one.
just curious is how that experiment is going. Do other people like them? Do you have any?
Well, supposedly there's mixed reviews about them. Some are saying it's alleviating traffic. Some say it's causing more traffic.
Well, I think it
And-
causes traffic. To your point earlier, some people don't know what to do when they get there.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That
I
it's,
personally love them.
I love them.
I
know
love
that
them too. I'm
Yeah.
used to them.
that it's supposed
so-
to expedite traffic
Yeah.
and keep it
Sure.
moving. But here, with I don't know people from all over,
Right.
it's not just old people and it's not young. A lot of people don't know how
They
to
don't know
drive.
how
I've
to
never been in a
behave,
state where there's no precipitation, even with our heavy downpours. I see 7 accidents a day. And
I'm always like,
a
should
lot
I
of
stay or should I go?
fatalities. So, but they are proven, even like this divergent diamond in Sarasota on 75. I think the schools, even though that's not part of you, I think perhaps maybe they need to better prepare, more the curriculum for the.
For the drivers, you mean?
No, for drivers, for the real world maybe with different jobs or things of that
Well,
nature.
I think that actually, I know it's more of a county school issue, but the thing is, I think you're right. I think we have to start changing the mentality of the county that not everybody's going to be on a college route, and we actually can have people going into
More
trades,
vocational things,
vocational.
yeah.
I mean,
Very
there's-
important.
It isn't. It's one important too. The salaries are high. Their needed jobs are always on demand. I think it's a great thing. I know for myself, my husband personally, he's a plumber, and he's works 7 days a week, and we can't keep up because he's always busy. But it provides like a decent salary for what he does, and it's needed, and there's always demands for that. So I think we have to, as a culture, start moving away from it's college for everyone, because it's not for everyone. But give them the skill set so that they can become an electrician
Like,
and open their
air
own
conditioning.
business or an AC, and then
environment.
and then actually, if they open up their own, they'll employ other people and bring them in and kind of have a trades program going through. I think it would be much more beneficial. So I think we have time for like one last question. What's the anything else that's like on your mind that's really pressing?
I don't know if this is actually appropriate, but have the native people been talking to like their thoughts, what they've seen, what they're experiencing? They must be just overwhelmed about what has transpired since their 3rd, 8th generation living here.
Well, it was that's actually an interesting thing. Last week, last Wednesday, I went to the Farmers Bureau. They had a candidate hoedown, is what they called it, and we had it at the state fairground. And the people that were there were mainly ranchers and rancher families. These are people who've been in Sarasota for, you're talking 100+ years. They're not happy. They're not happy at the development. They're not happy about what's happening to the countryside, the rural areas. They don't like the urban sprawl that's coming. They don't want the cookie cutter developments coming down. They're worried about their ranches. They're worried about the water to feed the animals. The majority of the ranchers were not happy.
They grow
really
crops
were not.
as well.
And even
the agricultural.
Agriculture is huge, and they said it's diminishing because they're cutting in and moving in, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's hard work. It's not always profitable because Sarasota in not just Sarasota, but Florida in general, it's unpredictable for weather. You can have a drought, then you have floods. So to grow crops, it's really difficult. And again, even cattle, feed costs are up. Citrus is down, even though we're probably still like the number 2 or number 1 citrus grower in the United States. But people are moving away from that because it's a lot of work and not a lot of money. And so, but they want to hold on to the land. And so I think for a lot of people, some of them, the comments were, we welcome some change and we like to see progress, but at what expense when you keep just knocking things down? And they said there's offers being made to some of these ranchers whose families have had these properties for hundreds of years. Well, they can't refuse the offers that are being given to them, and they sell out. And a lot of them are really sad about it. So I think we need to do a little bit more conservation. And like I said, judging from families who've been here for a long time, they know the growth has to happen. But they said do it in a slower pace, a more planned pace, so that you don't squeeze out all the agriculture, all the ranchers, and you open the roads properly. Because one of the complaints of one of the ranchers was they used to drive down Fruitville Road and it would take them 15 minutes to get to the end to go towards Mayaca. Well, they said now because of the construction and the new development, it's taking them 35, 40 minutes. And it's a one-way. So it's only 2 lane. And they said, oh my God, if there's a huge fire, if there's something, you're in a lot of trouble because you can't go down the roads and it becomes dangerous. Just like River Road in towards Englewood and in that area in Northport.
It's very dark there. There's no light.
There's no lights. There's 2-lane traffic, and you still have animals because it's rural. Sometimes you have cows that get out. You do, and they roam around. So it is something that it is of concern. So we have to take a look at that. So I'm going to kind of close up. I want to thank you all, and it's been wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we're going to be doing this on a regular basis to try to get in touch with what everybody's feelings are about the county and how to best progress with that and what a commissioner can do and what their complaints are. So thank you so much and see you next time.
Thank you. And I wanted to just say one thing, like if something you can do like the archives.